Okay, let's start. So today we'll talk about elasticity of demand. Okay, so what is elasticity? So if you have a demand curve, so we are measuring here quantity and price here. So if you have a demand curve like this or a demand curve like this, so what is elasticity? Elasticity basically is a measurement, kind of measurement. So by which we can say if price changes by some amount, then what will be the change in the output of any commodity. So elasticity is basically a measurement, unit of measurement. Uh, so we can see from here that if price changes, say for this demand curve, if price changes from this P0, then you are initially at this point where the demand is say Q0. Now if price drops due to some reason to P1, then you are demanding this much, say Q1. Okay. So this is the change in price. Price declines from P0 to P1, due to which demand increases from Q0 to Q1. Now, by elasticity, we are measuring, we call it, say, if the price changes by 1 percentage point, then what will be the percentage change in output of any commodity, of this commodity. So we can write elasticity, price elasticity, or we also call it own price elasticity, price of the same good for which the change in price has been occurred. So this is percentage change in output divided by, or demand, quantity demanded, or divided by percentage change in price of that particular commodity. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
So elasticity is basically a magnitude of demand by which demand changes uh, for a change in its price. So own price elasticity is basically uh, is the percentage change in demand of a commodity due to 1% change in price of that commodity. The other things remaining unchanged. So you can, if you write it in mathematical terms, so elasticity or own price, or you also call it own price elasticity, because say if I'm talking about say any commodity like say tea or coffee, say for tea, say if price of tea changes from say 500 rupees a kilo to say 600 rupees a kilo, then what will be the change in quantity demanded? So we call it by elasticity or one price elasticity of demand, that is percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. Now, if we take this percentage change in price is equal to 1, that means we are talking about 1% change in price. Say price initially was say 100 rupees, now the new price becomes 101 rupees. So what will happen, how much percentage of quantity demand will change for 1% change in price. That is called elasticity of demand. So we can write this percentage change in quantity demand is equal to this triangle set is for change in quantity output or quantity demanded. This delta Q, this is called delta or triangle set. Change in output, change in Q. So delta Q by Q, the original, the initial amount of output, delta Q multiplied by 100. So this term, this delta Q by Q multiplied by 100, this is equal to percentage change in quantity demanded. Similarly, the new denominator, delta P by P multiplied by 100, this is percentage change in price. So if you can rewrite it, 100, drop the hundreds. So it will be the Q by delta P multiplied by price divided by quantity. Is this clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So this is a measure of,
Yes,
okay.
sir.
So this is a measure, basically this doesn't have any unit. So we can measure, my mouse is a problem. Just a minute. Just wait for something. Mouse is getting stuck. Okay, so for normal commodity, elasticity, so basically elasticity of this price elasticity of demand, it does not have any unit. Say quantity is, say for any commodity like tea, quantity is the unit of quantity is, say in, we are measuring say amount of tea in kgs, and price of the commodity in rupees. Then, so if you talk about say this delta Q by Q multiplied by, so this term, the unit of this term will be in kilo, change it kgs by kgs, and this is price rupees by rupees. So elasticity of demand doesn't have any unit. Okay. Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Right.
sir.
Yes, sir.
My mouse got stuck, so I had to change its battery and again starting. So for a normal commodity, elasticity of demand is negative. Why it will be negative? Yes, anyone? Why I'm saying that, why the value of this elasticity of demand for a normal good will be negative? Yes. Hello.
Sir, can you repeat? Yes,
I'm
sir.
asking you to why for a normal commodity, elasticity of demand will be negative. The value of elasticity will be negative. It will be less than 0. Yes. Hello.
Yes, sir.
What will be the answer? I'm asking you a question, why the value of elasticity will be negative for a normal commodity? What is the definition of elasticity? Percentage change in quantity demanded by percentage change in price. Okay. Then for a normal commodity, what is law of demand states us? If price rises, quantity demand will what happen? So it will fall. That means for a rise in price, quantity demand will fall. So if price rises, quantity will fall. That means there is an inverse relationship. So percentage change in quantity demanded will be negative. So price is rising. Say for a price rises, say from 10 rupees to 15 rupees. So what is your percentage change in price? Percentage change in price is 15 minus 10. 15 is new price minus 10 old price divided by old price. Okay. So it will be 5 by 10 or half. Mute yourselves. And say, for example, quantity demanded, say quantity demanded initially was 20 kgs. Now it's say 10 kgs. So what is the change in Q? So percentage change in Q is the new quantity is 10 minus the old quantity 20 divided by old quantity, which is 20. So it will be how much? Minus half. Okay. Hello.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sir.
So what will the value of elasticity? So it will be minus half divided by half. So it will be minus 1. That means less than 0. So elasticity for a normal commodity will be negative. Or elasticity of demand, or we simply call it elasticity, or we also call it own price elasticity. We mention own price because for change in price of any particular commodity, how much quantity is changing of that particular commodity, that is denoted by this own price elasticity, or simply price elasticity of demand, or simply elasticity. If we call elasticity, it means the own price elasticity. Okay. There are other kinds of elasticity. Is this fine? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Next is for normal necessity goods. Necessity goods, for those goods, the absolute value is less than 1, but elasticity will be negative. Absolute value means this is the value of elasticity -1. If I ignore this negative sign here, we call it modulus value mod E. It will be equal to 1 here for this case. But for normal necessity commodities like salt, etc. So for not exactly salt, but we can think of say rice or wheat, etc. So if it will be negative, but the absolute value will be less than 1. Why it will be less than 1? If we take it percentage change in quantity demanded divided by percentage change in price. So if it is less than 1, that means the percentage change in quantity demanded will be less than the percentage change in price. That means if price increases by 10%, the percentage change in quantity demanded will be less than 10%. That means, say, for example, say 7% decrease in quantity demand. Fine. Similarly, for normal luxury commodities, the elasticity will be negative, but the absolute value will be more than 1. If it is more than 1, means percentage change in quantity demanded will be higher than percentage change in price. Say, if price increases by 10%, percentage change in decrease in quantity demanded will be more than 10%. Okay, this happens for luxury goods like fridge, TV, etc. Now, what will happen for the given goods? Given goods এর ক্ষেত্রে ইলাস্টিসিটি কত হবে? Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So what will be the value of elasticity for if the commodity is a given commodity or given good? No answer. Why
Sir, negative.
Then what is the difference with a normal commodity? I said for a normal commodity, it will be negative because price and quantity change in opposite direction for normal commodity. But for a given good, I have shown you yesterday in previous class, for given goods, the demand curve is upward sloping. So the demand curve is like this, upward sloping curve like this. That means if price increases, quantity demand will also increase. So what will the value of elasticity?
Positive.
It will be positive. এই উত্তর দিতে এতক্ষণ সময় লেগে গেল। So for the given goods, as the price and quantity moves in the same direction, if price increases by 10%, quantity demand will also increase. It can be equal to 10% or more than 10% or less than 10%. That doesn't matter. Only thing is matters here that if price rises, quantity demand will also rises. So both the direction of movement is same. So the value of elasticity will be not negative like we have in case of uh, normal commodity. Wait a minute, my cursor is not moving. Okay, next thing is arc elasticity. Say for a demand curve like this, so basically it's taking too much time. Say just follow my cursor. If a demand curve is like this, a curve like this, okay. So if price decreases from P0 to P1, and for this, if this change in price is good enough, then say quantity demand changes from Q0 to Q1. then if the distance between point A and point B is far from each other, concept of elasticity. So basically, if this is the arc, then if we have 2 points A and B here, then we join a straight line, a straight line AB. Then at the midpoint of AB, we can calculate the value of elasticity. We call this arc elasticity. So arc elasticity is equal to EP, E sub P equal to change in, not percentage, change in quantity demanded divided by change in P multiplied by average price divided by average quantity. So average price means P0 plus P1 divided by 2 divided by average quantity means Q0 plus Q1 divided by 2. So this will be the formula. So change in quantity divided by change in price multiplied by old price plus new price divided by old quantity plus new quantity. Let me see if I can open this. So which are the slowest? Say if this is point A, so this is point A, and say this is point B. Now if you join a straight line like this, and at the midpoint of the straight line, the value of elasticity will be given by the arc elasticity. Okay, this is the formula. Now if there is a very small change, say for this from point A to point B, there's a big change in price. So it requires price to change from this P0 here to P1 here, this point. Now, if this change in price is very small, that means the distance between point A and point B is not too far, or they are very close to each other, then this arc basically boils down to or comes to a point. And we can think about point elasticity. আজকে সিস্টেমে এত প্রবলেম হচ্ছে কেন কি জানে। Ridiculous. Okay. So if point A and B are very close to each other, so distance between A and B is negligible, then in the limiting case, the arc becomes a point only. So for a very small change in price, the price, what is happening? So if for a small change in price, so arc becomes a point only. So for small change in price, the price
attendance.
there will be no attendance. So elasticity of P is equal to delta Q by delta P multiplied by P times Q. And we can rewrite this equal to 1 by slope of the curve. Slope is equal to delta P divided by delta Q, or change in price divided by change in quantity multiplied by here price and quantity. Now, if we have a straight line demand curve, for a straight line demand curve like this, AB, this formula, elasticity of demand formula, we can rewrite this formula as the mod value or absolute value of elasticity will be equal to lower part of the demand curve divided by the upper part of the demand curve. Say, for example, if we have a point C here on the demand curve, then at the point C, the value of elasticity or absolute value of the elasticity for a straight line demand curve will be the lower part of the demand curve. Lower part means this distance BC divided by the upper part of the demand curve, that will be AC. Is this clear?
Sir, repeat, please.
I'm saying that if the demand curve is a straight line demand curve like this AB, okay, this is a straight line demand curve, and I'm saying that for a straight line demand curve, at any point on the demand curve, the absolute value of the elasticity of the demand curve is equal to lower part of the demand curve divided by the upper part of the demand curve. So for the point C, what is the lower part of the demand curve? For C, the lower part of the demand curve is that this distance BC, and the upper part of the demand curve is this distance AC. Okay. So the elasticity of demand at point C will be equal to BC divided by AC. Fine.
Yes, sir.
So we can rewrite this. So this distance divided by this distance will be equal to OD divided by AD. So this is written here, OD by AD. So you can take any point on the demand curve, and using this formula, you can tell what is the value of elasticity. Say, take point B. What is the value of elasticity at this point? কত হবে? Don't look at this. Yes, can anyone tell me? Hello.
No, sir.
If you understood this formula, so you should tell about this thing. Can anyone tell me? Do you have a pen and paper? Try yourselves. Hello.
Yes, sir.
What is the answer? So take the lowest point of on the demand curve and what will be the lower part of the demand curve and divide it by the upper part of the demand curve. That will be your answer. So what will the value?
0, 0.
It will be 0, because for the lowest part of the demand curve, there is no lower part. So the lower part is 0. So if you take 0 by something, it will be 0. Fine.
Okay, sir.
বাকিরা বুঝতে পেরেছো কেন এটা 0 হবে?
না স্যার, একবার রিপিট করুন।
So I'm saying that আজ কম্পিউটারে কি হয়েছে জানি না, এত সময় লাগাচ্ছে। তোমাদের হাতের কাছে পেন পেপার থাকলে তো নিজেরাই করে দেখতে পারো। Why I have to repeat? So if you have a demand curve, straight line, say this is the demand curve AB. So point A touched the vertical axis and point B touched the horizontal axis. So I am asking you that for this straight line demand curve, what will be the value of elasticity at point B? So at point B, there is no lower part. So lower part of the demand curve is 0. So at point B, the elasticity will be, absolute value of the elasticity will be equal to 0 by the upper part is the entire AB. So it will be equal to 0. Fine.
Yes.
What is the value of elasticity at point A? এই পয়েন্টে ইলাস্টিক কত হবে?
AB.
AB. If you understood the formula well, you can answer this. I said that at any point, the elasticity will be the lower part of the demand curve divided by the upper part of the demand curve. So what will be the value of elasticity at point A? Yes. No answer. Hello.
BC by AC.
Sir.
Where is C here? There is no C. Yes.
Sorry, sir.
What will be the value of elasticity at point A? What is the lower part for point A? Lower part of the demand curve কত?
BC.
Where is C? There is no C here. only A and B.
লোয়ার পার্ট এ বি হবে স্যার।
সেটা বলতে এতক্ষণ সময় লেগে গেল। And what is the upper part?
আপার পার্ট 0।
Upper part will be 0. So what will be the value of elasticity?
এবি।
Something divided by AB. If you divide AB by 0, it will be AB.
নো স্যার, নো স্যার।
What is that? বাকিদের উত্তর কি হবে বলো?
0
0
এখানে 0 বাই AB ইকুয়াল টু 0 হলো, এখানে AB বাই 0
স্যার
সেটাও 0
ইনফিনিটি
হবে।
স্যার ইনফিনিটি
So it will be infinity. So here the value of absolute value of elasticity will be infinity. Here it will be 0. Now take the
Okay, sir.
midpoint C here. Now what is the value of elasticity at point C?
স্যার 1
So this will be equal to this BC divided by AC. Now as I said that C is the midpoint of AB, so this divided by AC will be equal to 1. So elasticity, absolute value of elasticity will be equal to 1. I'm saying absolute value of elasticity. The value of elasticity is actually -1, but minus signs I'm not taking. So the absolute value or modulus value of elasticity is equal to 1 at the midpoint of the demand curve. Now take any point here, point D. What is the value of elasticity? একটা পেন আর পেপার নিয়ে নিজেরা ক্যালকুলেট করো, 2 সেকেন্ডে উত্তর বেরিয়ে যাবে। হাঁ করে স্ক্রিনের দিকে তাকিয়ে থাকলে উত্তর পাবে না। আর বলো, এখানেই তো সন্ধে হয়ে যাবে। You have any answer? So what the value of elasticity? This BD divided by AD, তাই তো? No response. Hello?
ইয়েস স্যার
কত হবে? ইয়েস স্যার আর নো স্যার ছাড়া কিছু বলতে পারবো না।
স্যার 1 হবে।
1 হবে, এখানেও 1, এখানেও 1। At this point D, what is the value of elasticity? The lower part is BD divided by the upper part, which is AD, তাই তো?
হ্যাঁ স্যার
এর মধ্যে কোনটা বড় কোনটা ছোট?
এডিটা বড়।
এডিটা বড়, তার মানে একটা ছোট জিনিসকে বড় জিনিস দিয়ে ভাগ করলে সেটা কি হবে? লেস দেন 1 হবে।
নেগেটিভ।
নেগেটিভ নয়, আই সেড লেস দেন 1।
ওকে।
নেগেটিভ আর লেস দেন 1 এর মধ্যে ডিফারেন্স আছে। নেগেটিভ মানে 0-র চেয়ে ছোট হয়ে যাবে, আর লেস দেন 1 মানে 1-এর চেয়ে ছোট কিন্তু 0-র চেয়ে বড়। ঠিক আছে? তাহলে এইখানে আমার পয়েন্ট বি তে ইলাস্টিসিটি 0 হচ্ছে, এখানে 0-র চেয়ে বড় হচ্ছে কিন্তু 1-এর চেয়ে ছোট হচ্ছে। মিড পয়েন্টে ইলাস্টিসিটি 1 হচ্ছে, এইখানে করে দেখবে এটা 1-এর চেয়ে বড় হবে, গ্রেটার দেন 1। এই পয়েন্টে গিয়ে ইলাস্টিসিটি হয়ে যাবে ইনফিনিটি। সুতরাং you can see that For a straight line demand curve, elasticity varies from 0 to infinity as we move upward along the demand curve. This is clear?
Yes, sir.
Now, shape of the demand curve. Now, there are very few special cases. Say for this, for example, this case. So, for this demand curve, elasticity of demand, or the absolute value of elasticity of demand is always 1, equal to 1. Say at this point, there is elasticity will be equal to 1. This point also elasticity will be equal to 1. This point also, at this point also elasticity will be equal to 1, the absolute value of elasticity. So this will happen if the expenditure, that means price into quantity. So if you measure, if you draw a curve like this, say if you take this point on the demand curve, point A. So for point A, this is the price P0, and for quantity will be Q0. So what I am saying, the expenditure which will be equal to Q0 multiplied by P0, এক ইউনিট আউটপুটের জন্য আর কোয়ান্টিটির জন্য যদি P0 প্রাইস পে করতে হয়, সুতরাং Q0 এতটা আউটপুটের জন্য, কোয়ান্টিটি ডিমান্ডের জন্য ইউ হ্যাভ টু পে Q0 টাইমস P0 প্রাইস। ধরো যাক কোনো একটা কমোডিটির দাম 10 টাকা পার ইউনিট, so if you are consuming 7 unit of that commodity, so you have to pay 5 multiplied by 10, that equal to 50. So now if you are at any other point B, now at point B the price is say P1 and quantity is say Q1. Now what I'm saying, the expenditure at point B will also be equal to the expenditure at point A. So that will be equal to Q1 times P1. Fine. So for point
Yes.
A and point B, if for a particular demand curve, if at any point on the demand curve the expenditure of the consumer does not change, then the value of elasticity or absolute value of the elasticity will be equal to 1 at any point on the demand curve. And this kind of shape of the demand curve, we call it rectangular hyperbola. Okay. Next is, if absolute value of elasticity is equal to 0, we call it perfectly inelastic demand curve. Perfectly inelastic demand curve, it will be like vertical straight line like this. So just remember what is the formula of elasticity: percentage change in demand divided by percentage change in price. Now for this demand curve, vertical straight line, say if you are here, price is here, and if you are at this point, price is here. So even if there is change in price, quantity demand is not changing. So percentage change in demand is equal to 0. So the value of elasticity is equal to 0 at any point on the demand curve. So this is perfectly inelastic demand curve. Similarly, for this, there is no change in price. Whatever be the change in demand, so the denominator, percentage change in price, is equal to 0. So the elasticity will be equal to infinity at any point on the demand curve. And we call this perfectly elastic demand curve like this. It will be a horizontal straight line. now there is an inelastic demand curve. For inelastic demand curve, it will be downward sloping, but it will be relatively steeper. Basic hara. So its absolute value will be less than 1. So it happens if percentage change in quantity demanded is less than percentage change in price. Similarly, for this is relatively flatter than this steeper demand curve. So for this, the absolute value of elasticity will be greater than 1. So it happens if percentage change in quantity demanded is more than percentage change in price. And the demand curve will look like a flatter curve like this. Okay, I'll do the rest next class.
Okay.